All right, if everyone could take your seat. Is that okay? All right. All right, if everyone could take your seats, we're going to get started now. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dawn Zimmer. I'm going to be kicking us off. For those of you who don't know me, I was the mayor of Hoboken through Superstorm Sandy. And I came out of that crisis totally committed to making sure that Hoboken will be protected from future severe storm events. And I am so excited to be here for today's groundbreaking with Governor Murphy and Mayor Bala and all of you who made this possible. We know that given the impact of climate change, it is not a question of if, it is when Hoboken and this region will be struck by another severe storm. I vividly remember how the Sandy storm surge brought the Hudson River in on Hoboken from the north and the south. It transformed Hoboken into a tiny island with more than 80% of the city flooded with a toxic brew of Hudson River water combined with raw sewage. I remember the agony that residents, businesses, and critical resources like our hospital felt as we desperately tried to hold back that water that came through from everywhere, through our doors, through our windows, up through our toilets. I remember the endless piles of debris on every street that made Hoboken feel like a war zone. I remember how we struggled with the power loss. I remember a volunteer running up to me at City Hall, crying, asking me to come and help persuade his grandmother to evacuate. She was on oxygen, with her battery running low. She was scared to evacuate. Thankfully, we were able to persuade her to be taken to a shelter. Through all the challenges, the people of Hoboken showed their true resilience, and we now owe it to them to build a resilient city that will also protect shared critical assets for the region. I want to thank Sean Donovan and Hank Ovick for making this possible from the start. They created this amazing design competition known as Rebuild by Design. I want to thank Mayor Turner, who's here with us, and Mayor Fulop for accepting my crazy idea to partner and go for it to try and win that design competition. I want to thank the people of Hoboken and Caleb Stratton, Hoboken's Chief Resiliency Officer, and the DEP team for digging in and going through that NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act process. From 2014 to 2017, we worked tirelessly to evaluate design alternatives so we could reach a final preferred design and the critical record of decision. This final step enabled the state of New Jersey to receive the $230 million award for this comprehensive resiliency project. I want to give a very special thank you to Mayor Bala for sharing my commitment to get this project done and working with the community to move towards the complete final design and construction. And thank you to our congressional team, Senator Menendez, Senator Booker, and Congressman Ceres for strongly supporting this project and hearing me out on my visits to your offices in Washington, D.C. and Newark. And finally, I want to give my biggest thank you to Governor Murphy. Without your commitment to action, we would not all be here today celebrating this groundbreaking. When I first met Governor Murphy, prior to him becoming governor, we spoke pretty much entirely about this project. We bonded over our shared commitment to good public policy, the climate change issue, and most importantly, protecting communities from the impact of climate change through resiliency. His strong leadership is the reason this critical project will be completed. So with that, please join me in giving a very, very warm welcome and a big thank you to Governor Murphy.
There's nothing I could say that's going to live up to that. Wow. I just said to Don, there is absolutely nothing I can say that's going to live up to that introduction, so be prepared to be disappointed. Good morning, everybody. Talk about a day that the Lord made. Wow. Thank God it's today and not yesterday. Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to be back again in the Mile Square City. To former mayor and dear friend Don Zimmer, thank you for that extraordinary introduction. So much of what we are here to highlight today took shape under your leadership and through your partnership with the the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I have to recount one particularly poignant story. Don and I are in a diner in 2014, literally talking about rebuild by design at a level of detail I never thought I'd get to. We sat there so long. This has never happened to me before or since, either as governor or as private citizen. The diner owner walked over and asked us to leave because we am I right? We had spent so much time at the table. They were not turning the table, and Dawn and I, with our tails between our legs, we left. We did what we were told. It is an incredible privilege to welcome the woman sitting to my left. What a treat. We welcome you to New Jersey, the Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Marcia Fudge. What a great honor, Secretary. What a treat. And Don alluded to this, the partnership of the federal government in building a stronger and more resilient future for Hoboken and our Hudson River waterfront is proving to be nothing less than transformational. Madam Secretary, I'm incredibly honored and proud to have you here with us as the work really gets going. When President Joe Biden talks of building back better and strengthening our communities for the future, this project will stand as a model for putting those words into action. And to the other members of the amazing lineup with us today, headed by the guy to the Secretary's left, Senator Cory Booker. Congressman Albio Ceres. In front of me, Department of Environmental Protection Acting Commissioner Sean LaTourette. Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala, who we'll hear from in a few. Weehawken Mayor Rich Turner. Among so many others in state and local government, your work has been no less than critical. We got two members at least of the Rockin' 33rd Legislative District with us today, Annette Chaparro and Raj Mukherjee from the Assembly side. Hats off to you and your colleague, Senator Brian Stack. We've got County Commissioner Anthony Stick Romano with us, to members of Hoboken's Council. Hats off to you. I also want to recognize, Sean, a couple of your colleagues, Dennis Reinecht, Frank Schwartz, Alexis Taylor. From the DEP team, along with all the incredible engineers and staff at DEP's Climate and Flood Resilience Program who have been spearheading this effort, Dan Kelly in my office and so many others here. In absentia, his name was mentioned by Dawn, but I want to reiterate it. Senator Bob Menendez has been a huge champion for this project. Let's give him a shout out in absentia. Madam Secretary, before we get back to the topic at hand, I want to also say this is the only press opportunity I have today, so let me give you 30 seconds on COVID and the update. 1,564 positive cases with the heaviest of hearts. We've confirmed 34 more losses of life. The good news is now becoming almost overwhelming, and that's a good thing. The number of folks in hospitalization still too high, but it's down to 1,306. 136 went in to our hospitals yesterday, but 191 live patients walked out, and that's a big deal. The spot positivity rate is still too high, but for a weekend, it's better than it's been, 6.67%, and the rate of transmission stays very low. In today's case, 0.42. Let's hope it stays that way. Please, God, we are breaking the back of this awful virus yet again. So rebuild by design could not be happening without the efforts of every single person here. I also want to give County Executive Tom DeGeese a shout out. He and I exchanged a note this morning. He wanted to be here today and could not. And when this project is ultimately completed, it will proudly bear everyone's imprints. It will also bear an international imprint as well, educated by the work of officials and designed by experts. Guess what? If you've got a problem like this, you go to places in the world who have had the same problem before, and you learn from them. And in this case, Dawn and I spent a lot of time talking about the Netherlands, a nation whose low-lying cities have been successfully hardening their own defenses against rising waters. And I want to give their Consul General Herman Quarles van Oeferd a shout-out. So to be sure, this is a big project with big goals and a big vision. But to appreciate it, we need to step back and take in the fuller picture of what is going to take shape here in Hoboken. This project in all of its myriad pieces, and by the way, there's a model of it right over there, which is very much worth visiting when we're done with the speaking program. It will challenge and reset our very understanding of what it means to be a modern American coastal city in the face of global climate change. When we think, as Don alluded to, of Hurricane Sandy, our mind immediately goes to the devastation along the Jersey Shore. And by the way, there was overwhelming devastation there. But we cannot forget that right here in Hoboken, whose neighborhoods were underwater from a 7-foot storm surge, families were stranded in their homes, businesses were washed out, transit links were severed, the power was out. Hoboken became an island unto itself. And across the past nearly 9 years since Sandy, we are reminded again and again that what we first thought of as just the 100-year or once-in-a-generation storm, those are becoming more frequent and more intense. The science tells us that sea level is rising faster in New Jersey than many other places on the planet, with a projection of 2 feet of sea level rise by the year 2050 and 5 feet by the end of this century. At the same time, rainfall is projected to increase by up over 10% by the year 2050, creating more stormwater runoff and flooding to manage. The infrastructure put in place a century or more ago is no match for a changing climate. So we must change. The time to make our cities and communities more resilient is not until after the next storm. It is right now. Rebuild by design is not formed around the word prevent. We know we can't prevent Mother Nature from sending the storms and high tides that regularly inundate parts of the city, and by the way, which also impact its neighbors, Rich and Weehawken and Jersey City, and a shout out again to Mayor Steve Fulop in Jersey City. But through 4 words, resist, delay, store, and discharge, we can better protect Hoboken and its residents and businesses. New flood walls and a brand new waterfront park, not far from here, by the way, and not far from where boats picked up by Sandy's surge were cast ashore in Hoboken, will help protect the city from the worst of the Hudson River. Green infrastructure will better capture the stormwaters that do make it over, or the downpours which roll from higher ground, and prevent them from gathering in city streets all at once and causing localized floods. And improvements to the storm sewers and other underground infrastructure will allow the water that is collected to be safely discharged away from neighborhoods and streets and prevent backflows that can bubble up from drains flooding streets. This is not a one-size-fits-all solution that aims to solve one problem while creating others untouched or left to impact someone else or somewhere else downstream. This is a comprehensive and innovative suite of solutions that aims to mitigate the range of weaknesses exposed by Sandy and years of ensuing northeasters and torrential downpours. Like many American cities, Hoboken was built on a base of concrete and asphalt during a time long before the impacts of unregulated factory discharges and coal-fired furnaces were measurable, let alone even thought of. And like many American cities, Hoboken's revitalization and economic and social future is threatened because of these decisions made so long ago. But that doesn't mean we just give up and leave these communities to face this future alone. And it certainly doesn't mean we just go back to the old playbook of quick fixes. This is our time to show the nation in this mile-square microcosm of America what the future can look like. This is the future that Rebuild by Design beckons, and it is the future that can be made possible for countless millions of Americans through President Biden's American Jobs Plan. This is the future of American infrastructure, smart infrastructure that protects communities from the reality of climate change and more frequent and more powerful storms and rising coastal waters. It is a future-focused infrastructure that creates good jobs, good union jobs today, and protects at the same time the jobs of tomorrow. It's time for us to stop taking a small-minded, narrow, and, with all due respect to the decade I was born in, a 1950s approach to infrastructure. If the past year has taught us anything, it is that big national challenges also provide us with big national opportunities, even in the face of tragedy. For more than a year, we've been knocked back. Now our sphere of vision cannot be limited by looking down and only walking back as far as we need to get us to where we were 14 months ago. If America is going to continue to lead the world through this century, then we need to invest now to make sure America's infrastructure, America's communities, and America's workers make it through this century. We need to hold our heads up high so that our vision extends all the way to the horizon. That's the vision upon which this nation was built, and it is the vision we need as we build it back. Right here, and with the partnership of Secretary Fudge and her team and everyone else here, we are taking a great step forward for Hoboken, but I think it's an even bigger step forward for our state and our nation. And I want to thank every one of you for being here today. If you're a guy in my shoes, there's a list, and it's not a long list, of people you dream to get the opportunity to share the stage with, and better yet, to introduce. And the next up to bat is one of those people. A former mayor, a former congresswoman in the great state of Ohio, former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and now the distinguished Secretary of Housing and Urban Development in the Biden-Harris administration. Please help me welcome to New Jersey. Let's give her a big welcome, Secretary Marcia Fudge. Bless you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So you gonna get it. When you say good morning, you're supposed to say it back. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a real pleasure to be here today. I want to first acknowledge your governor, who I think is just so wonderful and visionary, and it is a pleasure to be here with him. My good friends, Senator Booker and Congressman Series, who he and I have worked together for many years, and I just want you to know, you have a team of people who fight for you every single day. You may not see it every day, but they fight for you every day. Senator Menendez, as I was going through my confirmation, was talking to me about Sandy. People think it was a long time ago, but today is such a great day, because you have done something. You've come out of this tragedy in a strong way. I'm still dealing with tragedies all over the country, but you have done something different. You have made this work. You have talked about resiliency in a way that most people don't. So I'm going to just, in my next interview with a reporter, when they ask me, why are water and sewer infrastructure? And I'm going to tell them, go to Hoboken. They can tell you. You know, when they ask me why it's important to build parks and waterways and playgrounds, I'm going to say you need to go to Hoboken, because they can tell you. The next time they ask me about jobs from projects that we do, I'm going to tell them to come to Hoboken. Because what I know is this: government can work when we have the will to make it work. Now, we have an administration. President Biden and Vice President Harris are serious about resiliency and about preparing for the future. That is what infrastructure is. It is a foundation to build for the future. And anyone who questions that is living in the past. So when you get a whole lot of people coming here, it's because I sent them. And I also want you to know that I'm going to be back again, because after we pass the president's jobs bill, I'm going to be back for more groundbreakings, because you get it. You really, really do get it. And I am proud to say that HUD was such a significant partner in this venture. And I want to come back when it's all done, so I can say, see, I told you so. Thank you, Hoboken.
I love that. That was awesome. Oh, man, that's as good as it gets. One more time, Secretary Marcia Fudge. Wow. That's a deal. What a treat it is to have you here, and we'll take you back anytime you can come on up. Groundbreakings galore and cutting ribbons galore. Exciting times in New Jersey and in America. So it takes, as they say, it takes a village. It takes Hoboken leadership, mayors and council. It takes the county commissioners and executive. It takes certainly a state administration. And I could guarantee you it takes the federal administration led by the secretary, and our extraordinary congressional delegation. And we have two outstanding members with us today. First up, on behalf of himself and his colleague, Senator Bob Menendez, let's welcome the one, the only, Senator Cory Booker.
So I hope you all will join me in agreeing that Hoboken needs more fudge. It is a simple truth that we all have to proclaim. Look, this is an exciting day. I am so happy, number one, to see my dear friend, secretary now, Marcia Fudge, here in the great state of New Jersey on one of her first trips as a secretary. I think this is your first trip. Number one trip, top trip, first trip to New Jersey, to Hoboken. I am so grateful for you. You have no idea how much I am celebrating, because I've worked side by side with her when she was head of one of the caucuses I'm proud to be a part of, the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm so proud that she is where she is, because she, like me, is a former mayor and knows how difficult the work is at the grassroots level. And I am excited for her to be there because she is such a visionary and a get things done. So please understand, this is her first trip, and she is here in New Jersey, and she is making a commitment to be, I believe, one of the greatest secretaries of HUD we have ever seen in the United States of America. Give her one more round of applause. All right, so I want to get away from this microphone so we can get to the business, but I just want to say this. There's an old saying from the Bible, weeping may endure through the night, but joy cometh in the morning. We know what we have seen in the past with Hurricane Sandy. We know the weeping and the pain and the hurt and the loss. The leadership that came together afterwards and said that we must do something different. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be making headlines. But we are going to come together to make sure that we are proactive, so that we make sure there are brighter days ahead, so that we make sure as the planet changes that Hoboken is ready. That was literally one of the first meetings I had as your United States Senator. I got elected after Hurricane Sandy at the end of 2013, and in my office was the mayor of Hoboken. Dawn was there with a vision for the future. And she understood that democracy is not an individual sport, it's a team sport. And allies started coming together from state legislators, city council people, local mayors. Everybody said that we can make New Jersey, from the ashes, from the pain, from the hurt, we can make a national model of strength, of recovery, of resiliency. That we could turn a pain into purpose, a trial into a triumph. That we can overcome. Today has been years and years in the making. It is one of the more exciting things that's happening in our state, to show what we can do when we come together, stand together, and work together. And so I just want to say thank you to all the local leaders that are here, doing the unglamorous work of preparing for better tomorrows, and today is evidence of that. And finally, the governor did this, so I got to do it too. I just want to say, more help is on the way. We are in the midst of something I never thought I'd see before, because of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and because of the leadership we have in the House and the Senate. Never thought I would see this quickly, that we would talk about our nation cutting child poverty in half, that we in our nation would finally get out of the dark shadow of being one of the only countries without paid family leave, the dark shadow of us having maternal mortality rates the worst of developed nations, the dark shadows of having other competitor nations funding preschool, funding college. And now finally, because of the leadership we have, a line from the House of Representatives to the Senate to the president himself, we are going to be making big things happen for New Jersey. Billions of dollars coming to our state, investing in human infrastructure and investing in New Jersey infrastructure. And mark my words, Governor, mark my words, the last thing I'll say, we are going to get those new tunnels built under this river. Thank you, everybody.
Love you, man. Let's hear it again. Senator Cory Booker. Wow. That is awesome. And again, to you and Bob Menendez in the Senate, and we're going to hear from an extraordinary member of our delegation from the House. We couldn't have better representation. I'd say the same thing in the New Jersey legislature. We've got extraordinary representatives in both chambers. And again, Annette and Raj are with us today, and their colleague Brian Stack is a great example of that on the Senate side. So from the House side, your congressman, a guy who's a fighter, former colleague of Secretary Marcia Fudge, and a guy who we know was in there fighting for his everyday, Congressman Albio Ceres. Come on, man.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Governor. Thank you for being here. Thank you for putting the weight of your office behind this project. This is, I would just say this. Hoboken doesn't know how to do anything small. Anything Hoboken does is big, and this is huge. This is going to have national implications when this is over and done. My good friend Cory Booker, I still say he ran the best presidential campaign of anybody. It is a shame we don't have you there. And of course, my colleague and now secretary. She is tough as nails. She fights for everything that's important to us, and I could not be happier to see her here as secretary at HUD. What a difference between this secretary and the previous secretary. I tell you, she is just a wonderful individual who I worked with on many, many issues. And I'm happy that you're here because you see this view here? Not too many places around this country have this view. And this is out of Hoboken. And of course, I want to say something about Dawn Simmer. Dawn Simmer showed up in my office in Washington with cardboards of all these things that she was going to do. So she was the mayor, obviously, and she was so enthused about this project, and she went through it, the whole thing, and I said, well, how much is this going to cost? Well, we're talking about 140 million here, there, and whatever. And I said to myself, boy, it had to come from Hoboken because nothing comes out of this town that's small. But you know what? I have to give Dawn Simmer, the people that worked with Dawn Simmer, the team that she put together to present this project and get the money and get picked as one of the top projects ever put together for this area. So Dawn deserves a lot of credit with everybody in this community that worked with Dawn on this project. I was here with President Biden when that was flooded, if you remember. The water was coming through the elevator. And all the contact signals were all messed up because obviously they had put them on the ground, and when the water came, it short-circuited them. So now they're on the top, which is one of the good things that came out of this. But New Jersey suffered $30 billion of losses. And slowly but surely, we've been coming back, and we still are fighting for more money to get the people reimbursed, and that's because we have two great senators, Senator Menendez and Cory Booker, who have not given up since 2012 to make sure that New Jersey gets its share of the money. So I thank you again for what you're doing. And Governor, thank you again for putting the weight of your office behind this project. This is a great project, not only for the city of Hoboken, but for this nation. Not only for all the people that are going to work here, but all those people that are creating jobs all around. And I am going to make sure that whatever money is there available for this project, I know people have talked already about an extension. We're already working on it. And I know Senator Booker is working on it because we want to make sure that money is here to make this project work. So thank you again to all the people that are here today. And my neighbor, I miss you. I miss you when I get out of my office and I don't run into you. I miss you on the floor. Bonnie Watson and I, we miss you. But I know that you're in a great place to help the American people because I know where your heart is. I know how hard you work. And I am just thankful to God that you are there for the people of this country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So well done, Alvio. Love you, buddy. Let's hear it one more time. Congressman Alvio Ceres. Two quickies. I mentioned jobs. You mentioned jobs, Alvio. Again, let's give a big shout out to our brothers and sisters in organized labor. They will be a big part of this and a big beneficiary of this project. So we got one more speaker, and it occurs to me, I'm the only non or former mayor speaking here today. I'm the odd man out here. So you'll forgive me on you'll forgive me for intruding on this mini conference of mayors here. And by the way, Secretary Fudge said one of your most favorite moments or times in your life was as mayor, and I think every one of you would, I would suspect, echo that. So we started off with Don Zimmer, the former mayor of this great community, and we're going to end with the current mayor. Please help me welcome another terrific leader and dear friend, Mayor Ravi Bala.
Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Unlike welcome to Hoboken, the city of Hoboken. Unlike Senator Booker, I can't use my remarks as a prop. I need to actually read from them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I want to thank Governor Murphy for hosting this event today. And also, it's such a great honor to have Secretary Fudge here with us. Thank you so much for, on your first trip to New Jersey, visiting the great city of Hoboken. It's I can't put into words how honored we are as a city to have you here. And for us here in Hoboken, when it comes to Superstorm Sandy, we remember it like it was yesterday. Water breached the city in both the north and south ends, filling Hoboken up like a bathtub, leaving residents and our most vulnerable residents in the public housing part of Hoboken in the west vulnerable. The days, weeks, months, and years ahead began a recovery for the most devastating human disaster Hoboken has ever seen. I hope and pray every single hurricane season that we never have to face the devastation of a storm surge like Sandy, and that we're only becoming stronger and more resilient because we are combating the impacts of climate change. Thankfully, with today and the eventual completion of our Rebuild by Design project, Hoboken will become one, if not the most resilient coastal communities in the United States of America. As has been described before me, this project is unique in that we are not building these big, ugly seawalls to push back storm surge. In fact, we don't even use that term in Hoboken today. We've struck that term from our vocabulary. Instead, the above-ground protection will be built into the urban fabric of our community in a way that blends like you wouldn't even know that it's there. And that's what makes it so innovative. Our Cove Park in North Hoboken will become what's likely the country's first ever park that incorporates above-ground flood protection, serving as a way to not only protect our city from the next major storm surge, but also as a community amenity that adds to the quality of life of our residents. But as we sit here today, it's important to note how we got to this point. We got here thanks to a community process that engaged the community every step of the way, from the Zimmer administration that continued to the present day. And the final product wasn't a design that was put on paper by some engineers and just adopted by the community. It was shaped by the community, from everything from what we see here to what it would look like, to educating the community on the fact that flood protection doesn't need to be an ugly wall. It can be a beautiful design that our residents can be proud of. It's not an understatement to say that if any project could serve as a model of various government agencies coming together, it is this Rebuild by Design project. From the very first days of the Rebuild by Design competition under Mayor Zimmer, when Senator Menendez, Senator Booker, Congressman Series helped secure funding for the project with HUD and then Secretary Sean Donovan, to the months and years of engagement in the community development led by the DEP. It's great to have the DEP commissioner here today. The team led by David Rosenblatt, to Mayor Turner strategizing. I was telling the mayor earlier today, nothing in Hudson County happens without Mayor Turner's approval. Along with Governor Murphy and Dan Kelly, and working diligently to get us an extension on the project and securing necessary funding, to Caleb Stratton, our Chief Resiliency Officer, who coordinated with the CAG, the Community Advisory Group, a number of members of which are here today, to push for community support. I can't say enough about the partnership at all levels of government that carried us to this point. When we look back at history on the completion of this project, it will be because each and every one of us here today played an important, critical role in making it happen. So as mayor, on behalf of our residents, I thank you for creating a stronger and more resilient Hoboken. Thank you very much.
Well done, man. That was so well done. Let's hear it again, Mayor Ravi Bala. So that's a wrap. On behalf of the people of Hoboken, all of the cavalcade of elected officials, on behalf of each and every one of us, Madam Secretary, again, welcome to New Jersey. You are welcome anytime, anywhere, any place, and especially let's look forward to cutting a ribbon when this thing is done. Don, Ravi, thank you for your leadership, members of council, the commissioners, legislators, the commissioner here, congressman, senator, and last but not least, extraordinary secretary. Thank you all.